folks, welcome to Tour Truck Tuesday. Chris Trott here, Carlsbad, California at the Kingdom on a week in between tour events. I'm going to aim this one at the person that's more in this camp, the 770, the 790, why you should choose this. Yeah, look, if you want to get into these irons, perfect, test them out. This is the P7MB and the P7MC, a little bit tougher to use. But why would you go for this over this? Well, let's get an understanding of the clubs first. Small, between finger and thumb, the sole width, small, thin. You then get into the game improvement irons and you can see out the gate, the 790 is much wider between finger and thumb. What does that give me? Well, when you get a lie, like here's a sandy divot, I'm not gonna hit it because I don't want to obviously mark what they're repairing, but the club might struggle to go through there because you're the golfer, if you're looking at this, that you struggle to return the speed and get the speed into there. You struggle to return the club consistently. This club gives you some speed and it also gives you a bit of relief if you don't quite strike it on these sketchy lies, because you're playing something that has a wider sole that will get through the turf. Now the 770 in comparison to it is going to be a little bit smaller when you look at it from the player's view, okay? You look at it from the top. That's when it's going to be a little bit more sleek. Head's going to be a bit smaller. This one's going to be slightly easier to shape. The player that's going to get into the cavity player's iron in the MC and the P7MB is going to be someone who's looking to shape it. They've made their decisions. They know where they live. They want spin. These irons aren't going to spin as much as those if returning consistently the dynamic loft. But if you're looking at these, you're not the type of player that needs that spin because you're getting the launch. And anytime you take the CG down lower than the golf ball, okay, that's what I mean by that. The center of gravity goes lower than this golf ball, then you're going to get some launch out of it. And if you get the launch out of it, you then don't want the spin that these irons on the floor generate. Otherwise, the ball's just going to go up and spin and out of it. Not going to be good for you. So this is going to give you extra speed with the speed pocket. The flange is going to get through the turf easier. It's going to give you a bit more consistency on those lesser lies. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't combo a set. And that's why we've got these irons in here. It doesn't mean that you can't get into a place where you'd play the long irons in maybe the 770 and you transition then into the P7MC in the short irons. And you consider, if you really wanted to, playing a bladed wedge. So you'd go as far down as getting into the P7MB wedge if you wanted to, if you wanted that control. All I would say to you at that point, I've touched on it on other videos, watch the lofts that you set them at. Because generally the person that the 790 and the 770 is aimed at is going to perhaps have a little less speed. Like I said, they're going to need launch, and when you have that, you're going to need less spin. Whereas the other irons, the more player advanced irons, are going to spin a little bit more. So look at how you set them up. And then the final piece on this that I think is often overridden, and again, I'm going to give an explanation of it so you understand it first. If I take this 790, offset from the center line, okay? I'll come a little bit closer so you can see that and understand it. The offset from the center line, so how far back that leading edge is sitting from the center of this golf shaft, is going to give you as a player time to square up the blade. Generally, amateur golfers, handicap golfers will lose the ball to the right. If that is you and you're that way inclined, by having the shaft and the leading edge set back, so the leading edge set back from the shaft, it gives you time to square it up, which means for a right-handed golfer, you're going to see less of the weak to the right, and you're going to see the golf ball come more back into the middle of the fairway or middle of the green. You may get more run out on a 790 and a 770, dependent on how you set them up. That's the key piece of information, dependent on what golf ball you play. But you also are going to be needing that because that's the type of golfer that you are. Beautiful looking irons, both the 770 and the 790. I play a 770 4 and 3 iron. That shows you, and I'm And a golfer who can compete, I can play. So I'm using them. A lot of tour players use them. They have the launch. When we get to the Open Championship, tour players will use long irons in 790 as well, because it gives them the speed. So it doesn't mean just because you're not in that category that you can't consider them. I'm just saying that's generally where they're aimed at, and it gives you a good one-up if you can know this information before you walk to the first tee or before you walk into a golf shop to consider buying these. If you know this information, it's going to help you in your decision-making process. Check it out, try them out. I press you to test them on a range. If you've got one as good as this on hand, fantastic. Seek advice from the fitter. They usually know what they're talking about. And watch the ball flight all the way to the end. That is key. And envisage yourself playing those clubs out on a golf course. How does the ball run out? What's the peak height like? And what is the experience I'm getting with the turf, not the golf mat? Try and take it off and hit some on the turf and experience how that club goes through that turf. It's critical because that is when you'll tackle how this sole design works for your game. Try it out, test it, follow along. I drop all sorts of tips about equipment, sometimes technique, once a week, every Tour Truck Tuesday. Comment below if you like it. I look forward to bringing you more tips like this in the future.